Stephanie is an intern practitioner and ministerial student with the Centre for Spiritual Living in Kelowna. Stephanie's dedication to her spiritual path led her to move all the way to Kelowna from Winnipeg to pursue her lifelong dream of becoming a minister. Well, Stephanie is in the ministerial class with Ken and Lana and I. And Stephanie brings to that class a lot of laughter, a lot of joy, a lot of excitement, a lot of fun, because that's just her personality. And it doesn't matter what's going on in her life, that she always finds that place of excitement and that place of joy. So I know that what she's talking about today is something to do with living outside of Beige. I don't think Stephanie's ever been in Beige, right? Although she has beige pants on today, but I don't think she's ever lived her life in Beige. So I'm really looking forward to hear what she has to say. So I invite you all to give Stephanie a really warm welcome, and Stephanie, say hi.
Thanks, Pat. I have to admit I didn't write my blurb either, because I don't like talking about myself. So good morning. It is so exciting to be here and sharing today with you. And it is a blessing to have a ministerial class with Pat and Lana and Ken, and then to be invited to share their spiritual home. It's an exciting and a true blessing. So thank you for having me. So the title of my talk today is Living Outside of Beige. And I titled my talk about a month ago thinking that it was going to be one thing, and by divine intervention it became a completely different thing. I love how Spirit moves through me in that way. So what is beige? Beige in my life can be a few different things other than a color. In my thoughts, and therefore in my creative experience of my life, beige has been fear, monotony, maybe even labels that others have placed on me. Can you see yourself in these ideas of beige? The dictionary describes beige as a very light brown or undyed wool, light gray with a brownish tinge. My partner Tammy says beige is the color of life before you add color. Could fear be described as that? I don't know. A life of monotony certainly could be. Light gray with a brownish tinge. According to spell check, tinge isn't even a word. But the dictionary uses it to describe one. My definition of beige is a container.
Not you, this is the speaker. That speaker, not that speaker.
Yeah.
That speaker.
So my definition of beige is a monotonous container for a life filled with fear and complacency. I was living that way. I know it's surprising now, Pat. But everything I didn't do because I was living inside of beige, fear-based and complacent. If I wasn't complacent, my life would have been completely different. My life pre-New Thought, of course. There was an entire decade based on fear. It's every time I step back or take a step back. There was an entire decade of my life where everything was based on fear. I feared taking the bus. I feared walking. I feared friendship. I feared strangers. I feared being alone. I feared being in crowds. I was so afraid of living a life that even my wardrobe was beige. I was afraid of who I thought the truth of me was. And I was living an incomplete life and presenting the world with a lie. Then, one beautiful summer day, that cosmic 2x4 fell from the sky and knocked me on the head. I awoke to an idea that there must be something greater inside of me than I could even imagine. There was this feeling in my chest that it was going to explode, and I had no idea why it was there or what it was. But I saw myself for the first time. I mean, truly saw myself. It wasn't the world I was lying to. It was me. I realized that my mind was living inside of beige for so long that I wasn't sure I could step out of it, but I was ready to try. The alternative was to stay where I was, and that just didn't seem appealing anymore. I had seen a glimpse of light and hope, and I was and I knew that there was an answer out there for me. Do you know what I did? I went out and bought pink sneakers. Yeah, that's right, pink. I was completely living on the edge now, in that baby steps kind of way. And then I went out and bought a book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And Susan Jeffers told me, remember that underlying every fear is a lack of trust in ourselves. Again, I began to see myself a little bit clearer. I didn't trust myself enough to take care of the things I needed to take care of. I always wanted to have the answers. I always needed to know what was going to happen next before it was going to happen. You just can't plan like that. I spent so much of my life preparing for the what-ifs that I forgot to take stock of the I-haves. I spent so much time preparing for the what-ifs, I forgot to take a look at the I-haves. I was bound by my thoughts and living on empty, and I felt that I had nothing to contribute to that greater whole. Ernest Holmes said in The Science of Mind, to suppose that the creative intelligence of the universe would create man in bondage and leave him bound would be to dishonor the creative power which we call God. I discovered the experience I was having in my life was created by that feeling I was having in my chest, that one that was ready to explode, that feeling of fear that set in motion a decade of complacency. That was the feeling I was allowing to hold my life captive. And I discovered that that was a choice. That was a choice. Life is a series of choices, I found. We have that freedom with our lives, that what we see fit. God, Spirit, creative intelligence, that oneness from which we came, continues to be with us and supports us in every single choice and decision we make, good and bad. It is an impersonal, creative force back of all thoughts, all choices. How many times have I dishonored God by living inside of fear, living inside of beige? I was living my life without recognizing that universal truth is constantly living within me. That I am a spiritual, magnificent creation that is already perfect, beautiful, successful, strong, capable, vibrant, and whole. That is always inside of me, 100% of the time, inside of each of us. God did not put us on earth to be handcuffed to mediocrity. I know, I'm probably the only one that still forgets that. So my pink sneakers and I were now on a mission of growth and change. That course was set, and I was on my way to find the value in who I was. The same value that I get from the story of Jimmy, the grocery bagger. Jimmy was a grocery bagger, and he was a young man with Down syndrome. And he worked for a corporation that brought in a corporate coach to help with customer relations. And this corporate coach came in and sat down with every single employee and said, you are valuable. You make a difference. You have the power to create that experience that allows customers to decide whether they come back or not. And Jimmy took that home. And a month later, he went and found the corporate coach, and he said, that moment changed my life. And that day, and every day from that point, he, with the help from his father, went and created thoughts of the day and put them in the grocery bags, every single grocery bag. And so within a month, Jimmy's cashier line was the longest in the store. And they would open other cash registers and say, we can help you here. No, I'm waiting for Jimmy's thought of the day. And there's people who shop there maybe once a month who are now coming almost every day so that they could get Jimmy's thought. The value in one person. The difference one person, one thought can make. I began to see the value in who I am and the difference that I can make in my life and in the world. I began to recognize the opportunities to shine in every opportunity. I am here as a creative expression of Source. Who am I to deny God the experience of love, joy, laughter, abundance? Who am I to deny God the acceptance with gratitude, that ever-flowing experience of Spirit as Spirit? How dare I think that I am grander than God? I am not. Nothing is without that presence of creative intelligence. It is in everything, absolutely, infinitely. I recently found out about Pinterest. Have anyone heard about that? It's this new online thing where you can find inspirational quotes or pictures or recipes for gluten-free cookies and pink sneakers. Not recipes for pink sneakers, just pictures of them. I found this quote by Beige. When you wake up to your own magnificence, your own power, your own truth, you wake up to your own capacities for real peace and love, then you will realize how magical everyone else is too. I don't know who Beige is, but I like her style. And that is exactly what happened in my life. I had no idea how amazing and wonderful everyone was that was already around me until I realized how amazing and wonderful I was. In fact, we owe it to universal consciousness to be as magnificent as possible all the time. And the more that we recognize our own spiritual magnificence, the greater we are creating that consciousness in the world around us. Are you seeing the steps in my process of living outside of Beige? 1, recognizing that you're living inside of Beige. 2, begin to trust the universe and that it supports you in all that you do. Awaken to an idea that you are magnificent. Awaken to just one new thought, one different idea, just a glimpse of the spiritual truth of who you are as an inseparable piece of Source. The next step in the process of living outside of Beige, the funky pink belt, which for me is recognizing my freedom to express myself, the freedom to be myself. Dr. Holmes wrote, "The seed of freedom must be planted in the innermost being of man, but like the prodigal son, man must make the great discovery for himself." We are so free to be ourselves that the seed, soil, and fertilizer are all already within us. The greatest journey is the pursuit to discover the authentic self, if we have the courage to do so. An authentic life is knowing exactly who you are and basing every decision surrounded in that truth of that being. This is freedom. Mind and spirit acting in complete alignment with creative and universal intelligence. No one owns your soul, your essence. You are in complete control of every choice you make. And every choice you make brings you closer and closer to the truth of who you are. A perfect, magnificent child of Source. To change my life and get the heck out of Beige, I did the oldest trick in the book. I changed how I was thinking. I saw myself in a new light. I trusted that the universe and all of its energy, all of its power, was supporting me in everything I did. I recognized that I was one with that same power, and that I am a magnificent, individualized expression of God. I became aware of my divinely appointed right to be free. I recently started working for Interior Health in support services and housekeeping. And during training, I was told this story of a housekeeper who went into a patient's room and was cleaning around the patient. And the patient looked up to him and said, "What do you do here?" And the housekeeper, without hesitation, said, I save lives. He saves lives. He's a housekeeper. But he saw the value and importance in his job. The value and importance. He's a housekeeper, but he knew that he was a lifesaver. This is a beautiful expression of knowing your truth and who you are. That it isn't about who you are or what you do. It's about how you feel about what you do. You don't have to be a superhero and wear a cape to work every day. You just have to be yourself. The cape is optional. So recognize your magnificence every chance you get. Step outside of fear. Step outside of that light, beige, dull, woolly, gray life and accept and embrace the trueness of how awesome you are. Because living outside of beige is living inside of spirit. I'd like to close with a treatment that I wrote, if that's okay. And if you choose, allow these words to be your own as we join together in consciousness and know this truth. God is the answer, and God is the prayer. God is the absolute and infinite, and as the infinite, nothing is separate. There is nothing that is not within God, and there is nothing that is without God. Therefore I know that I am in the presence of God in every moment of my life. Everything that I am is also God. I fear nothing, because I know that there is nothing that can be against me. For God is love, God is life, and God is the creator of all things. I am in every moment of my life held in that light and love of God. I stand in this truth with strength and determination as I recognize the power of God's law working through me in every way. I speak my truth and know without doubt that my words are carried through the ether of life with a vibrant energy that cannot be stopped. I am a powerful, creative inspiration of truth. I am a divine, individualized expression of that one mind that encompasses all things. I cannot be held back by limiting thoughts or beliefs because they absolutely do not represent the perfection that is my truth now. My experience is a beautiful and tenacious story of the power and presence of spirit in my life as I awaken myself to my spiritual magnificence. My life is a rainbow of perfection, and every day I am exactly where I need to be, meeting exactly who I need to meet, and representing myself as the true, authentic self in every action I take. With this truth filling every part of me now, I am deeply grateful for the experience of my life. And with heartfelt thanks, I release these words into God's law and know that it is now a demonstration of good in my life. And so it is. Namaste.